So you mentioned earlier 6 brands, and I think you said about 57 SKUs. So you have some brands I noticed like Tasteology and Nira and some others. Do you want to talk about those brands and like how do you differentiate? What becomes Tasteology, what becomes Nira, and so on.
So obviously when we started, we had our retail stores, and then the moment we became vertically integrated in Pennsylvania, it was the time to launch our own private label, we call it. We don't call it house brands because it's not really house brands. We took over a big cultivation facility, and so we have the capability to make stuff, and this is when, and we have the stores. So we had to get started with our brands, and 2 of our brands was really we inherited them from an acquisition. We did it very early with our Colorado team. This was the bank and the lab, and they were very successful brands in Colorado. We had them a while on the shelf, and as soon as we were vertically integrated, we immediately launched our flower brand Bank with a total facelift and redesign, as well the lab as our vape brand. With live resin later and so on. There's a whole sequence coming. But so we launched those 2, and then we have as well. We were very early in the CBD world. We had a product called Nira, and that was born out of a partnership with the biggest. I think it's the biggest cannabis clinic in the world in Buffalo, Dr. Mechtler's Dent Center. And so we had our CBD brand, and then next thing we say, okay, let's make like a medicinal medical product, which we call Nira Plus now, and this is capsules and tinctures, more like a medical look, not so recreational. However, some of the capsules have 25 milligrams, which is pretty powerful. It's like people like them in Pennsylvania a lot. And then we have a very interesting other flower. This is a completely new creation. It's called Sachet. It's like the French name SECHE with two accents on the. We, as I said before, we're testing this to pieces. This stuff, and people might say, "Oh, this is a little bit exotic," but the people love the exotics, like in French, and it's dry in French. It's called Sachet. And it's basically pre-ground flour. It's a very cost-effective product. It's normally the stuff you would have as well take for extraction, right? This stuff falls down and you put it together and then you grind it and then you have kind of this ready-to-roll product, sachet. And it's kind of an adventure because you don't know how strong it is really. And of course you test it, but it's always something else. And that's what people like about it. And the whole advertising campaign is the adventure sachet, it's campfires, surfboards and log fires on the beach. And that's the campaign for it. And you can see already, we're doing real brands now already. So Sachet is a real brand and we have a real campaign for it and there will be films and stuff coming. But when we put it out in Pennsylvania, it flies off the shelves. And that's the fascinating thing again with cannabis. You cannot do any advertising, but we have them in the stores, we promote them, we put them on our menus, and all the stuff sells out. It's incredible, specifically the flower product, of course, because as you know better than anyone else, it's still the best-selling flower. And then we have the final is a Tasteology, which is our edible brand. So and edible we cannot do in Pennsylvania, but we have as well, as you know, we are vertically integrated in Virginia, just launching. So we're going to launch gummies and I'm not sure gummies is they're called tarts. I think in tarts in Virginia and in gummies and in Ohio as well. So, but we don't have stores yet. And in Nevada as well, we launched. We have a cultivation facility. We launched the Bank flower and the other products. And out of the gate, in some categories, we had an amazing traction already. And that's down to the quality of the product and of course the packaging, the positioning. It's very sexy, like gold and black. You've probably seen it. And there's blunts as well in Nevada, which is a worldwide. This doesn't exist anywhere else in the world. Blunts, pre-rolled blunts. With the Bank. So that's our lineup. And every state, for people who are not from the cannabis industry listening, every state has its own restrictions and we cannot cross the state lines with the product. So every state really has its own little world of brands, right? It's so funny. So because they will never see any Camino gummies for a long time in Virginia, but they will know our Tasteology gummies. So the Virginians, they will only know Tasteology as gummies, really, as the sexy packaged gummies. And in California, I have like, God knows how many gummy brands, right? Like thousands probably. And so it's super cool with our markets, right? We choose our markets where with limited licenses, and we don't have much competition in our markets. We choosing, and our brands will be the standard from the beginning. It was like the first one. Imagine, where can you do this? In what business can you say, okay, I'm now making the first gummy in the world in this microcosm, Virginia, right?
I know, it's amazing. It's so incredible, and you know these brands will be around for years or decades, right? To come, and you know they gotta start somewhere. You mentioned that you guys got a production facility and you kind of became more vertically integrated, could run your own brands after that. And recently, Jushi announced the acquisition of Nature's Remedy in Massachusetts, which also has a production facility. So during acquisitions like that, do you guys consider bringing some of those brands into your brand portfolio? Do you do a process? Is it do they automatically come in, or do you have to determine which ones make it?
Super good question, because of course the first thing you're doing is like somebody calls in and asks the question, what are we doing with the brands?
Right.
So what we're doing is obviously super respectful to the people who have built this based on those brands. Of course. So what we do is basically we come there and we do always, and this is always the greatest solution. We're gonna totally market research the brands, the existing ones, against ours. We're going to have focus groups. We're going to try. So we really research that to pieces, and then we make the decision based on that. And it could be like if the Massachusetts gummy brands, the chocolate brands we have there, we've never done chocolate, they testing well against our names, then we would like, well, let's keep it. But if our name tests better, and you can really prove, okay, this will have better traction, better branding, better scalability for the future, so then we do our brand. We might as well do both. You know, it depends really on the research we're doing, and we're just starting this. This is focus groups. This is people who like give their opinions, and we have like in my team, we have a whole research department with the professor, we call him Julian Scarf. He's a professor on the Art Center for User Experience in Pasadena. So he's doing all that, and it's basically that research based on from an experiential angle. So it's very specific. It's not the classic advertising focus groups asking a bunch of people of their opinions. It's observational partly. We go into stores, we observe people, how they're looking at stuff, and so it's really sophisticated. And then we can make a real decision based on that instead of, okay, Dre likes that chocolate more. And that's
right.
Thanks for joining CPG, the Cannabis Packaged Goods Podcast. For more information on Headset, visit headset.io.